Don't jump on top of me, and you want my money. And that's Roger this morning with the tour. Where do you really want to go on a tour? And some will say, do you really have every vehicle, the kind of vehicle to take you on a good tour? Perhaps Nairobi will be the place for a good tour. And if you go to Nairobi, what do you see? We started this morning with Billabel singing about the good feel of Nairobi. Let's see whether we can talk to our very good friend, the ones whose voice you can't ignore when it comes to talking sports, although he will tell you he is not a journalist, but you know him more than that. And Francis Gaitho is a voice that really rings loud, especially when it comes to sports and football. It's coming home. That's how nations scream it, Francis. How do you do? How is Nairobi this morning?
Nairobi is, it's slightly cold. There's an overcast, some clouds, but everything seems to be okay.
And how did the Nairobi faithfuls of the game take the bid result yesterday from Cairo?
Well, there was some slight, optimism. There was some slight celebrations, but I think afterwards the reality sank in that at the end of the day, the bid will be in the hands of a very corrupt federation and an equally corrupt government. The officials who are there during the botched Chan 2018 hosting bid, the officials who undermined that particular bid are still in office, are still in the highest echelons of power or political power. So this is a dichotomy, destined for failure, and not unless some supernatural occurrence takes place. But otherwise, the institutional memory, immediately after the bid was announced and there was that initial adrenaline rush, the reality sank in that the institutional memory is the same, and Kenya and Uganda stand to be the weak links, because the corruption in Kenya almost mirrors the corruption in Uganda. If not, Uganda could be worse. They are lacking in physical, facilities. I don't know. I think there was more significance or geopolitical significance as regards to that decision. There was no football merit. There was the significance was more like this region has not hosted an AFCON, in the last couple of decades. The last time they hosted was, I don't know.
51 years, that's 76 in Ethiopia. Mm.
Yes. So the decision was primarily guided by that sentiment. And I think it was, extending an olive branch by CAF to these governments to take football more seriously. So it remains to be seen whether they'll rise to the occasion.
But Tanzania appears to be the shining star in terms of the game. Some will say that the game is truly alive and bouncing in Tanzania all round, and perhaps they brought in more in terms of shifting the choice level. They gave in more.
Yes, and Tanzania are not doing rocket science. They're just doing the bare minimum. Just like any country, once you invest a shilling or a naira or a CFA in football, the returns are tenfold. So they're not doing much. They're just using the available resources from their government, from FIFA. But what we are seeing in Kenya is that they can't show you what they've done with their FIFA forward remittances. they haven't done anything significant, and so they were more like riding on Tanzania because Tanzania had the credentials of hosting the under-17 AFCON in 2019. They have, I think, more options as regards to stadiums, ground running, but Kenya, there's no sign of improvement. Uganda is even worse. I think they've tried to spruce up one of the stadiums, but I think they'll have a problem with logistics and infrastructure, how to get in and out of the stadium. So it remains to be seen if these guys will rise to the occasion and actually put their interests aside. They stop their addiction to proceeds of crime and actually serve the game.
Okay, that is really good. I think that it's a problem which can be solved, not solved totally. They have 4 years to do all of that, and I don't know whether CAF they will stay faithful to the dates they fix for this AFCON. We've seen consistent postponements over time. If it's not the weather, it's about a decision of beyond comprehension. But we want to believe 2025 Morocco. What do you say about that?
No, Morocco, they are not new. They are not new to hosting tournaments. I think even CAF would not be where it is without the support of Morocco because now hosted their funds. They don't have any money in their cash reserves. And so even hosting the meetings mostly has been done in Morocco. It was a surprise that they met in Cairo because they haven't met in Cairo for a long while. There are also elections. There will also be elections, presidential elections in 2025, if I'm not wrong. So that will also, I don't know whether Patrice Motsepe will still be the CAF president then, whether there will be a new president. And that will also significantly affect whether, because I'm sure there were so many behind-the-scenes conversations between Patrice Motsepe and the political leaderships of these countries. So if he's not there, perhaps that may affect whether the tournament will be held in this region. Whatever guarantees they may have agreed on unofficially, through their back channels. I don't know whether Patrice Motsepe will still be interested to run as CAF president because he's a busy man. He's a businessman. So I don't understand. So this bid is just good on paper. The mechanics and the reality of actualizing the AFCON in the region, we are still far from there. This is just a good on paper, but nothing else.
Okay, we really want to appreciate your thoughts on the East African bid. All the dailies from that side of the continent celebrating the bid, but as you said, the initial realization has given way for a deeper reflection, and that is good. But talking about Motsepe, the CAF president himself, if you were to do a halftime assessment of his dispensation, what singular thought will hit you? You talked about the reserves almost depleting, and for a billionaire, you will think his coming will have shifted the revenue stream. But some people say that the partnerships are coming, but we are seeing partnerships that are disappearing.
Yeah, now they were just about to sabotage, or they've already sabotaged the Bein contract. Bein has been a faithful, diligent partner of CAF for over a decade, but CAF normally goes out of their way to sabotage these partnerships in the speculative fiction that they'll get better deals. But African football is no longer a hot commodity. There's no sponsors or partners queuing or in line waiting to edge out competitors. So my halftime assessment would be, lackluster. He didn't look like he really wanted this position. It's almost like he was forced on it by FIFA President Gianni Infantino. Gianni Infantino, has imposed staff from Zurich, people who don't know the local terrain. They are not familiar with the dynamics of football in the continent, and that's why CAF is going from bad to worse. You saw yesterday, even Patrice Motsepe's press conference, we couldn't hear anything. Even a simple thing like live streaming, which young kids are streaming from their own bedroom.
the audio was terrible. The audio was terrible. Not even you couldn't hear anything. It was blank. So I mean,
we literally relied on the visual, on the optics. So we didn't hear anything that he said. So this is a train wreck in motion. It would be good if Patrice Motsepe would throw in the towel come 2025, and because he's clearly busy. He clearly has a lot on his plate. He was recently in New York for the United Nations General Assembly. He's been, we can see that his interest is very occupied. So it would be good for him, out of, love for the African football and the African people to say that now, 2025, I'm ready to throw in the towel and leave this position to somebody who perhaps has more time and commitment as opposed to him, because we read every day, we can see all the business moves that he's making. Secondly, about the sponsorship, it's clear that we have debunked the theory, because when he was being promoted, the idea was that because he's a billionaire with a corporate background, the sponsorships will come flowing. We've clearly seen that, that's not the case. And it's been a learning curve for you, for us, that perhaps shouldn't be falling for the narratives and go for the people who are more passionate and who have dedicated their time in football, and the sponsorships will find their way.
Okay, that is a pertinent point you raised, because there was a time here where the fever was, let's get a Dangote to be NFF chairman and all that kind of stuff. And some of us said, look, it really doesn't help the situation. And the billionaire case of Motsepe at the continental level has, as you said, it has really shown us the real answer to that option. We really want to thank you this morning, Gaitho, Francis, and it's nice hearing your voice once more. The African Football League will be starting in a matter of days next month, and of course Tanzania looks like the place to set it on. That looks like a good choice. But before you go, what do you say of the Nigerian bid that was dead on arrival? From an outsider's perspective, what did you think of the Nigeria Benin bid? Confused as it was initially 2025. Now it went to 2027, and they say they have two members in the FIFA Council who will influence the bid. And what did we get at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think Nigeria was more like a ceremonial bid. It was like the flower girl of the other bids, because they were just put there to show that they are, or to endear themselves to FIFA President Gianni Infantino. There is a Nigerian official who is always mentioning in 2 minutes, and I'm sure it was just, the significance was just, a Nigeria bid was there. Perhaps there was no, I think you are coming through a transition, a political transition. Support from your government, because of course it's a new government, so there was that, but it wasn't going to go anywhere, because clearly the government was not fully behind the project, as opposed to these other ones which have some political undertones. Don't forget, like now the Kenya was driving this project, because 2027 is an electoral year, and the government assumes that if the AFCON is hosted here, then it will give them mileage, and then they can be re-elected in droves. so Nigeria and Benin was bound to fail, because there was no government support, but it was just put there for significance, for political significance, so that I think the Nigerian officials who continue extracting some kind of benefit from FIFA and from Gianni Infantino can, of course, use it to posture and to chest stamp that at least we were there, we are doing something So remember us, protect us, give us political protection whenever we have government interference.
Okay, I like that.